Joining us now to discuss is Zoanda's senior market analyst, Edward Moya. Welcome, Edward.
Thank you for having me.
So, Edward, what do you make of recent price movement, right? Bitcoin broke through 30K, it kept walking back the dips below 30K, and now we're seeing 2 days of weakness. What gives?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Number one, there's a lot of concerns on Wall Street broadly for risk appetite. You're starting to see that there's a lot of concerns about profit. There's a tremendous amount of earnings risk. There's debt ceiling concerns. There's, I think overall, you have a market that is nervous that we are recession bound. We have a labor market that is softening, but is still vulnerable to more rate hikes by a Fed. So it looks like we're seeing a Fed that is going to be probably pretty vocal as they enter that blackout window, where they're going to be talking about inflation's too high, that there's still more work that needs to be done as far as tightening. And I think you're going to see an economy here that is going to be heading towards a recession. And I think for crypto, it just means that you're going to see a difficult environment for crypto companies. I think there was an expectation here that once we got out of this crypto winter, that there was hope that it was going to attract a lot of new investors. Liquidity, really, it didn't pick up. And I think right now there's a lot of concerns as far as what's next. And I think there's still a lot of question marks as far as regulation. And until we have some firm answers, I think this is just kind of a waiting period. And right now, there's no catalyst for crypto to go higher. So it's probably just going to consolidate.
Right. So, Edward, you're pointing towards potential recession, and there's a lot of uncertainty just in general in the economy in the US and everywhere. Does that mean you don't subscribe to the idea that Bitcoin is a risk-off asset and that it is in fact still a risky asset? Is Bitcoin not a way to opt out of the system?
I don't think it's going to be able to differentiate itself in this current environment. I think, there might be some days where it could, possess some days where it might be able to outperform, but I think overall, broadly, it's still going to remain a risky asset. So if we're starting to see a broader market sell-off, that ultimately will still drag, I think, be a major drag on crypto. I think you have to remember, for crypto to really thrive, you still need to have retail and institutional investors come into this space. And most of them, when they did get started, they bought between 30 and 40,000. So the majority of them are still in the red. So I think you need to see a healthier market environment for crypto to thrive. And I don't anticipate that this is necessarily the right environment for crypto to do well. I think unless you see major innovation, unless you see a groundbreaking move that signals a major breakthrough in DeFi in innovation, that triggers a major wave of interest and use case arguments. But until we see that, no, I don't think you're going to see a major change in the way it trades.
So you mentioned retail a little bit there, and you talked a little bit about regulatory risk. So it probably makes sense we talk a little bit about Coinbase, which today or the other day secured a license to operate in Bermuda. How much does that matter for the broader market?
I think, Coinbase is, they have to, protect all their options. I think the regulatory path is unclear, and, they need to make sure that they're positioned to have all options on the table in the event that they don't like the decisions that come down from the U.S. They're making sure that they have the right, licenses available in other regions to operate and to provide solutions for their customers. So I think they're hopeful that they'll be able to continue to operate in the U.S., but I think they're frustrated. I think they've been asking for some clarity. I think, everyone's seen the testimony at Capitol Hill, and, people want answers. People are expecting to see some clear guidelines, and it's taking a lot longer than I think a lot of people were anticipating. And I think hopefully we'll see some type of framework put in place. But until that happens, this is this is a concern for investors. I think you need to see the U.S. market be a part of the crypto world. I think if you see traders have to rely on decentralized exchanges, that's not really going to fly for, I think, a lot of U.S. investors. I think, for crypto to grow, you need to have it on exchanges that are dealing with the proper regulatory bodies. So I think that's a key story that we have to stay on top of.
Yeah, Edward, if you were to guess, do you think Coinbase would actually, in practice, ever leave the United States? You mentioned that the United States is a very large market, a very important market for the Bitcoin market and for the crypto market. Are they really ever going to actually leave the United States?
I would say that would be their worst case scenario. I would anticipate that you would have to see politics at its worst and see some of the worst case scenarios play out for that option to actually unfold. But Coinbase would want to remain committed to the U.S. space. That is something I would probably give it the least amount of odds possible.